Your microphone's off.
My microphone is off.
I just want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Would you expect what?
I said couth.
Dude,
That's all I said.
you got the whole package.
What are you talking about?
You can't expect nothing different from me.
I got you.
I tried once,
I'm with you.
and I was miserable all day.
I'm with you. Hi, everybody. Good evening.
I just yelled at me.
I didn't yell at
He used a weird word that I didn't understand.
what? Couth?
Yeah, what is that? I mean, I could come up with what it is. I mean, I could say I'm going out to
Have
the club
some
tonight.
respect.
Is that why don't you just say that in the first place?
Okay.
I'm going to tell him what you did.
Uncouth.
I am going to tell him what
Uncouth,
you
I
did.
think, is what the word is.
Dude, no, when we go hot, I'm bringing this up.
I'm sure you will. There's nothing that surprises me about that. Evening, everybody. We have a great guest with us tonight. This is going to be a fantastic story.
When you meet somebody and instantly you can say you can sit down and have dinner with them,
Yep.
we're family already.
Of course.
He don't even realize it yet.
Of course.
All right, you ready, Phillips?
Yep. We've got Peter Panagore with us tonight.
Yeah.
I did say it wrong last night, folks. I said Panagore.
I'm going to slip.
It's Panagore.
I'm going to slip because I'm going to say
Panagore.
some.
Yep. All right, 40 seconds.
Come on in.
Come on in. All right.
There's Audrey. It's been a while. You know, it's only
Yeah, she
been,
said she was
like,
going to be with
forever.
us tonight. All right, folks, here we go. We'll be right back with you.
800-561-2351. 800-561-2351. 800-561-2351. Again, that's 800-561-2351.
Journey into the matrix of the mind. Stretch your imagination and challenge reality. Abnormal realities are beacons for the imagination. What society deems abnormal may be more real than we think. This is Abnormal Realities with your hosts, Ron Phillips and Rocky Stucci.
All right, you know what? Let's just get right to it.
Okay.
Let's just get. Oh! You're coming in all aggressive.
Oh,
back
no.
at me.
I didn't say anything about being aggressive. You said let's just get right to it.
Yep. Do me a favor.
Let's do it.
No, do me a favor.
What?
Bring our guest in.
Oh, you want to go ahead and bring him in?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact.
Well, let me. Okay.
No.
I'll bring him in.
Uh-uh.
You don't want to read his information?
No. We're going to bring him into the conversation, and then we'll let people know.
Okay.
I cannot wait any longer.
All right. There you go.
This is Peter.
Peter, welcome to the show, bud.
Peter, we got to have a conversation. Okay, I got yelled at once. We just
That is
once,
not true. You did not get yelled at.
No, I kind of did.
Nobody
I kinda
yells
did.
at you, dude.
I want to talk to you, sir.
Talk.
Ron yelled at me when we went and started the live stream because he said that apparently I said a couple offensive words. Did I?
You did. You said about
to me.
I said the man is a reverend. Please do not be uncouth. Thanks.
But he's still a human, and
he is
he
still
knows
a human.
Italians. I mean, he already knows what he's walking into with a name like mine.
I know. Forgive me. Forgive me for I have sinned. Okay, here we go.
All right, so just to clear this up before we even get any further, is that in normal conversations, I'm usually the first one that has to swear in order to break the ice, because otherwise everybody's on their best behavior and nobody's actually being themselves. I'm sorry, but that's...
We're family, brother. We don't even know it yet. We're already family.
That's exactly what Rocky said. He said you can instantly tell this guy would be family. So okay, I
said when you meet somebody, you know that you can instantly sit down and have a dinner with them.
Yeah,
you know, I said that's a powerful thing. It is. It's a powerful thing. So, Ron.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is Peter Panagore. He went ice climbing with his partner on the world-famous Lower Weeping Wall along the Ice Fields Parkway in Alberta, Canada. On their descent, I cannot wait to hear this story. I'm dying to hear this story.
I can't believe you really did that,
There it
bro.
is. They became trapped.
Oh, no. Did you?
They became trapped on the
Ron
on the
said
side
he's dying to hear about his story of dying.
Yeah, they became trapped on the side of the mountain. As the sun set, he was overcome by exhaustion and hypothermia. He died on the side of that mountain. And in those minutes on the other side, he experienced hell, forgiveness, and unconditional love. And he says heaven was beautiful. Peter, thank you for joining us. Is that all of that stuff is
Accurate, true.
man, I
And thank you
cannot
for
wait
having
to
me,
hear
guys.
this story. I cannot wait to hear it.
All right. So,
Go ahead, Rocky. I know you're fired up about this.
well, so just the physical living story alone,
Yeah.
that takes a certain character, a certain individual to do that kind of stuff. That's honestly, man, Peter, if you called me up and said, yo, meatball, you want to go climb a wall of ice, I'm probably going to tell you no. That takes, think about this, because I watch people rock climb, and I could not, I don't know if it's a height thing, but to do that and to
for
be
me, it's
so
a high
high
thing.
up,
Yeah.
and to be in such a vulnerable position and fight through that vulnerability, that's a different level. You know, just like people that climb Mount Everest. You had to have a certain will in your heart and soul. It has nothing to do with physical capabilities, because if you ain't got that desire to get to that peak,
Yeah.
you're not going to make it. So can you tell us that? Tell us, you were up, you were climbing, sub-zero weather, freezing to death.
Yep. Frozen and hyper-focused, I meant to say. Hyper-focused, completely present to exactly where I was, not ahead of myself, not behind myself, not looking down, not looking up, just exactly where I am. And that's actually the trick to climbing, is, at least in my experience, it has to do with maintaining very pure, very direct focus exactly where you are and what you're doing. So we made this climb. We successfully made the climb, but I began the climb short of equipment, which slowed our climb down significantly, which put us in the position of nearly dying. And by the time we reached the top of the climb, the sun set, the temperature dropped 30 degrees in a moment. And I should let people know this is March, and we were a day's drive from the Arctic Circle. A long day, but a day's drive.
Oh, wow.
It's far north and it's cold.
Yeah.
And there was 10 feet of snow on the ground. More stars in the skies than I've ever seen anywhere in my life. And every one of them clearly visible in their own individual colors, just millions and millions and millions.
That
So
means
we
it
make
was dark.
Right.
It was dark and cold. No
Wow.
moisture in the air. Like nothing's flickering. Well,
Yeah.
the stars were twinkling, but not because there was moisture in the air. But nothing as far as we could see of human life or any chance to get rescued.
It is pretty
We were-
powerful looking at the sky. I have not seen it nearly as what you saw, but there is this experience when you look up and you get to see it like that, to where you can sometimes see the Milky Way. It takes you somewhere else. You know, it is a powerful experience. I would have loved to have seen that, but I just, the elements.
Well, I was a winter kid. I started winter camping when I was 11, and I'd been backpacking since I was about that age. So I was in the National Ski Patrol. Winter was my element.
Got it.
So being on the mountain was a new experience. I hadn't gone ice climbing before. I'd been rock climbing a fair amount and high peaks and those sorts of things. But ice was a new element for me, and by my choice of gear, I climbed with an axe and a hammer, and a hammer is significantly shorter than an axe, and you can't rest with a hammer in your hand. You have to hold it strongly the whole time, which meant that I burned out fast, which meant that my climb was significantly slower, which meant that hours before we even reached the top of the climb, we already recognized the kind of situation we were in. And you can't go back down. It's not like you're on a trail somewhere and it starts to rain and you're like, oh, I'm getting my shoes wet, I'm going to turn around and go back down. You can't do that.
See,
There's
I
only
felt him
one
say
way.
that.
Yeah, I
I
did
felt
too.
you say that, brother, because I could see me 30 feet up. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm a little too high that if I jumped, I'm probably going to break a bone, or I got to go
But you
up.
know what I felt when he said that?
What?
I felt hopeless,
Anxiety,
helplessness, because you know that you're cratering, you know that you're going down, but you know you can't go backwards, and so you're stuck.
You got to go forward. That's
Yeah.
that's it. You have to.
Yep.
You don't go forward, you die. That was the circumstance that we were in when we reached the top of the climb. the sun drops, hypothermia begins, violent shivers, every muscle in my body was pulsating on its own individually. So this one was pumping up, and this one next to it was pumping down, and this one's getting wide, and that one, and so the whole thing is like wildly shaking. And we
literally shutdown mode. Yeah, literally shutdown mode. Yep.
First steps toward the end.
That's right.
And I was I should say I was terrified. I was terrified and petrified, but I also was completely level-headed. So was my climbing partner Tim, who was a certified lead climber. Part of the reason why we were climbing together is because we were both level-headed. We both could keep our stuff together, to put a polite word to it. And we discussed snuggling up against the face of the mountain and trying to survive. So this mountain goes up another 10,000 feet above us.
Jesus.
We're only 500 or 600 feet up, but it's a long way down. And so we can't go up. We have to go down. And it was so cold that both of us were so cold that even if we snuggled together, we would never have had enough body heat, which is a hypothermic technique. You combine your body heats.
Right.
And we know that was death for us. And so we figured we were going to die. We talked about it very openly. We're going to die tonight. If we're going to die tonight, we're going to die getting off the mountain. They're going to find us trying to get down. And so that's what we did. Long story short, I'll to get to the dying part.
Yeah.
It was all night long. We fought against in the dark, traversing on rock, traversing on ice, roped in, making mistakes as we went, as hypothermia continued to advance, going through all of the stages, including confusion. So the colder we got, the more confused we became. Eyeballs freezing. Your eyeballs, you can feel your eyeballs freeze. I didn't know that. It was like my jaw got so cold I couldn't talk. My feet were blocks of ice. Tim was in the same position. Every step we took drained our already depleted energy. So as we pushed forward, we were also bringing death closer. So it was this crazy sort of, the more we worked at it, the closer the line got together of like, can we make it or do we die? And we both knew completely all night long what the inevitability was. So we make it to the last rappel. So now we're 150 feet up. All sorts of mishaps happened along the way. We're now 150 feet up, and I got to set the scene for you. It's like the size of the ledge that we're standing on is sort of a boardroom conference table size. And in front of me, maybe 4 feet, is the rock wall. We're off the ice. There are iron pins with rings and carabiners and harnesses, with webbing straps with a carabiner on the end that's clipped to my harness. And Tim has his clipped to the harness. So we're, for the first time in the nighttime, we're actually safe. We're not, in terms of falling, we're not going to fall because we're clipped to the mountain. This is the only rappel on the mountain that has this safety built into it. And so we're clipped into the mountain, standing on this large area of flat rock. And off to my right, the mountain curves sharply. And we had just come down that ravine around this curve to stand on this table. And so I took the rope and I pulled it out of my carabiner, and I tied one end to my harness, and I took the other end and I threw it out to the side around that corner in order to pull the rope down from the rappel above through the iron ring that was up there.
Right.
And it jammed. I pulled it 6 inches and it just jammed. And so there must have been a wedge of a rock on the other side, and it just laid in this thing. And the first pull, and then I pulled it again, and I made it worse. And then I made it worse, and I made it worse. And the more I pulled, and I couldn't snap the line. So I could snap the line. You could snap a line, but it wouldn't go past the curve because it's laying on the curve. The snap would stop at the curve. I couldn't snap the line out of the V.
Right.
And I couldn't go back around the corner because it was 150 feet down. And no safety. So, and I've got hypothermia. So my feet are blocks of ice. My fingers, I've got frostbite. You ever get a bad bruise in your fingertip and it turns purple and blue and all that?
Oh yeah.
That's what happened. That's what I looked like after. I didn't go black. Okay. But I was bruised. I had frozen bruises. Everywhere.
Did you ever are your fingers still numb from that experience?
My big, I can't feel my big toe on my right foot.
Yeah.
And my fingers, my fingers, as soon as the temperature hits 50 degrees, I'm in gloves.
Yep.
I wear gloves.
It probably starts to hurt, doesn't it?
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's like people stabbing little knives in my fingers. It's
Wow.
so and I live in the north. So I wear a mask all the time before masks came into vogue in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I was wearing a mask when the temperature hits, 50 below 50 and the wind's blowing. So anyway, toward the end of hypothermia, there are some final stages, and I reached the stage where I got hot. So I felt like all the blood rushed in from all of my extremities into my core, and my body felt like it heated up. But I knew this wasn't true because I was in the National Ski Patrol and I was trained in hypothermic technique. I didn't care. And I unzipped my coat, and Tim yelled at me. He said, "Zip your coat back up. It's, that's your mind's playing tricks on you." I was like, I don't care. I didn't care. And then I realized at this point that I was going to die. There was like, okay, the rope's stuck. I've unzipped my coat. I know I have false heat. It's a most beautiful place. I'm looking out over my shoulder out to the mountains. There's a river, the Saskatchewan River. We can hear it. It's down below us. And I give up.
What time of day was this, Peter?
Oh, a couple of hours before sunup. I don't really know.
Oh, okay. So it was dark.
Yep.
Oh, it was still dark. It was
Gotcha.
still dark out.
Okay.
And but the moon had risen. So the moon was up like a 3/4 moon, and we could see sort of in color. You know how that works.
Yep.
And plus his reflection off the snow. So we could see pretty well.
Right.
But I could see the mountains and see the starlight, and this peace kind of came over me. This acceptance is more like it. I accepted my situation.
Yep.
I've been driving myself. I feel like I accessed a mammalian or reptilian part of my very early, pre-hominid brain back when, or even my hominid brain, where survival was the only thing that mattered. And so all night long, I was digging deeper into my capacity for survivability, just digging and digging and digging and digging. And as my energy was depleted, my will got stronger.
I just want you to say what you just said was extremely profound to me.
And not only that, the fact that he was staring directly at the camera when he said it gave me a chill. It did. It honestly did.
Sorry to cut you off, brother.
This is a phenomenal. And by the way, we're not going to do the break at the bottom of the hour. We're just going to let you keep going. I'm intrigued.
Okay.
So now you're at the point now to where it is the final stage of hypothermia, where what you have left is trying to keep your organs functioning. So you lost all the blood in your arms, you lost all the blood in your legs, your face is having contractions.
Are you at the point of resigning yourself now?
Oh yeah, I gave up. I gave up because I couldn't fix it, and no amount of willpower was going to enable me to levitate around the corner and go up and fix that rope. I couldn't fix it, and Tim couldn't fix it, and so I started thinking.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
I want to know if they talked about it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you got to that point. And only reason I jumped in is because I don't want to get too far and then have to come back. When you got to that point to where you knew, and I'm just curious out of because my personal experience, when you knew that there was no turning back, no matter how much more fight you had, that you weren't going to make it. What changed psychologically? I'm really curious because you said you accepted it. You knew it was going to happen.
Good question. I just resigned myself. I had seen that movie. I think it was Little Big Man with Dustin Hoffman, and I think it was that film where he was living with a native tribe, and one of the elderly people got up every day and he'd say, "Today's a good day to die," and that's what I remember thinking. That tonight's a good day to die because there's no other way out of this. And so it was more of a release than anything else. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a rising of peace or some sort of psychological break. It was just a self-admittance that I was done for.
Was there Peter, was there fear, or were you past that point already?
When I hit this point, there was no more fear.
Okay.
I was in peace. I was in acceptance.
Yep.
I realized I know it's hard to explain this, that there was such a shift. I had all of this drive for survivability, and I've never in my life since that day ever gone to the bottom of what I dug that night. I
Hmm.
always have drive reserve, and it's just this sort of result of what happened to me. But when I recognized the fatality of it, my fate of it, I just let go. And I started thinking about my mom and my dad. And my sister had run away when I was 14, which is why I was away from my family in the first place. My family my mom kind of broke with my dad. They're beautiful, lovely, love them people, but it was a terrible, horrible time.
Yeah.
And so, but from our point of view, you can't mourn somebody you don't know is dead or alive. And if they've been gone a long time, you're just left with daily grief. And so I remember thinking, yeah, I'm going to die here, and my parents are going to lose another kid, and it's just going to break them completely. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I felt terrible about it, but there's nothing I could do about it. And then I started falling asleep. And so I would fall asleep in like a flash, snap of the fingers, everything shuts off. My body goes down. I smack into the rock. I wake up. Because I smack and have a helmet on. I wake up and I stand back up again and I pull on the rope, and this thing repeats several times. And then I stand up this last time, and as I stand up, I get tunnel vision. So it all blacks out around me, and it just focuses down very rapidly. And I remember looking around and it just goes down to darkness. And when it goes down to darkness, I was amazed that I was still conscious.
Yeah, you were still lucid.
I was still lucid. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, I was lucid. And I didn't understand why, because I didn't have any pain anymore. And I felt like where the mountain should be, there wasn't a mountain. And it suddenly expanded into this vast, infinite darkness. And everything that I'm going to say from now on out is all in metaphor, because there is no language for the ineffability of the divine place. There's no language there. There's no things there. So this darkness just extended into infinity almost, but it was like the depth of the universe. And way far, far in the furthest distance, a pop of light appeared, like a singular, tiny, tiny little star. Just one spot of light, and then it rushed toward me at faster than the speed of light. It just covered this entire billions of light years distance. As it rushed toward me, it communicated to me telepathically, without language, inside of me, a block of information. And the information was its own intelligence. It's incredibly high intelligence. It's incredibly high power. And its message was, I'm taking you with me. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not going anywhere. So I took all this willpower that I had dug through the night, and I stuck it up as a wall, like a force field, but it just reached through me, whoosh, and just took me, whoosh, like I was nothing. And as soon as it enveloped me, I lost all of my autonomy. I lost all of my capacity for decision making. All my agency was gone. And I was inside of this entity, like a ball of intelligent, compassionate, loving light. But I was like a rag doll in this thing. And I had a body, but it wasn't a physical body. It was more like in the shape of a physical body. I was a being of light, and I was severed from my body. I knew that my body was severed from me. So I was now free of that. And I knew and I understood it. And the voice was speaking to me inside of me, comfort and love, and just comfort and love, and intelligence and power. The power was so far beyond anything I've ever experienced. And I was inside of this thing, and I had a second perspective. So I was also outside, looking at myself inside in this entity. So I was in two locations at once. And it's sweeping me up back the way it came. It sweeps me up back the way it came, along the same trajectory. And then I reached this point at which we reach this point. I'm inside of it, and it's so rapid that either it expands into heaven, or I pop into heaven, or it becomes heaven, but somehow or other this angel of light, this entity, this being was the same as the space I went into, but much smaller, but equally so powerful. It's very paradoxical. So now I'm inside of this void, and this void I'm in is utter blackness in every direction into infinity, but I can see in it. So it's illuminated darkness, and I can see that there is infinity, but I can't see to infinity. I can see much more than I've ever seen before, and I can see in every direction simultaneously, like I'm a singular eyeball or 10,000 eyes looking in every direction. But it's all making sense to me because my seeing is my thinking, is myself. There's no separation.
Peter, was there a sense of the passage of time at all?
No time.
Okay.
None. Zero. Timelessness now. But there was a sense of time, but it was all time. It was like time that goes forward, time that goes backwards, time that twists underside itself and inverts, but it's just so expansive, and it's also always now. It was eternally now.
What was your form? Did you still see yourself as?
No, I good question. I changed form. As soon as I was outside of somewhere along the route, I became an energy ball of consciousness. I was no thing. I had no molecules, no quarks, no energy that was at all recognizable as energy here. I was a ginormous ball of consciousness, and I was in a place of nothingness. There were no things here. So it's accurate to say, from my point of view, that God is no thing.
God is no thing.
No thing.
Yep.
No
Nothing.
thing as we know what things
Yep.
are.
Nothing.
Now, is nothing. Is this, looking back on it, would this be considered your soul?
Oh, it's my soul. It's my consciousness. It's the essence of my being. And I came to understand that soon.
Yeah.
My first realization that I had, besides seeing into infinity and seeing that I couldn't see the end or the beginning of infinity, was that this was me. That I had always been this entity. I had always been this consciousness. This was my true nature, and that my human nature never was me. It was where I lived, and a much reduced, a much smaller package than I actually am. So my first experience was remembrance of self with a capital S.
So what, at any point in time, did you see any, I guess for lack of a better term, entities, other entities?
I did. That's what happened next.
Okay.
So as I'm in this illuminated darkness, and in front, if I had a front, which I didn't have, but in one place, a ginormous flow of light appeared. It just, like a portal opened, like a door opened, and there was this flow of liquid light made of a million septillion colors you'd never seen before, and also white. It's colored, and of all these colors, and it's white at the same time. And I can see the surface of it, and I can see into it. I can see it's translucent, it's solid and translucent, so I can see the depth of it, and I can see through it. And it has a tunnel that leads into infinity. It leads to where I cannot see. And it's so beautiful. It's so attractive to me. I'm compelled to touch it with myself. And so I reach for it with my being. And as I touch it with myself, it flows into me. It flows into me, and it is the divine self. And the divine self is speaking to me, and it is everything around me, and it's everything inside me. And all these things happen at the same time. The first thing that happened was all livingness, all life, all beauty, all joy, all creation, all knowledge, all flows inside of me. But as it flows inside of me, I hear my name called. But it's not Peter, it's the origin of the essence of my being as a created entity. It's the name that I've spoken that makes me exist, not as Peter, but as my soul. And it is my eternal name, my everlasting name, and it created me. And so I as this all happened, I saw the origin of myself as like a photon that's superpositioned, but also wave and particle. It's wave and particle because it's not a physical thing, and it's superpositioned because I can also see the divine entity itself. I can see all of its light is made up of a googolplex of photons as like a Higgs boson field of energy mind, and it is what I am made of. I am a single photon of all of this massive intellect, and I can see myself be created, just being separated, made in the image in the Christian language, made in the reflection of it, but my own entity, limited in the face of unlimitedness. And it showed me my soul. It showed me the length of the life of my consciousness. And it was eons long, everlastingly so. And I could see all these other lives I had lived, but the lives, I'm sitting at a butcher block desk right now, and the lives are these just like this, the little thin lines between the much larger blocks. The larger blocks are actually me. The little to thin lines, they're not me. They're things that I've done. And I get to see inside a couple of them, and I can see one is human, and the other one, I don't know where I was. I had no reference for this world. I don't know what it was. I don't know where it was, but they all seem to be happening simultaneously. And then I hear my name, I see my soul. I then somehow also, all simultaneous, I then go through hell. And the hell I go through is the hell I made. So, I like to use A Christmas Carol, which, by the way, it reads to me like a near-death experience. If you've ever not read it like that, think about it when you read it next Christmas. I was like Marley, who forged my chains in life link by link. I made the suffering I gave away turned out to be my own. And the suffering I gave away to other people, it came back to me. And it was much larger than it was when I thought I gave it away. And I came to understand this because I was utterly naked. I was every corner of my human life. There was no part of me that was not seen and known. And not like God's picking up this book and saying like, oh, on page 34, you did this thing. It wasn't like that. It was like the divine had experienced it with me, knew me intimately. No part of me was unknown. And so as I'm being seen in my nakedness with the light blazing through me, I experience all of the suffering I gave to everybody else in my life from inside of their bodies.
Damn.
And inside of their actual experiences while I was giving them the pain. And I suffered their emotional rush. I suffered their chemical mix. I suffered their confusion. I suffered their anger. And it was so much bigger than what I had thought every single time. And it was juxtaposed simultaneously. So I'm in this place. I'm inside this other person. And in sequence, right? Everybody I know, everybody I hurt, and also inside of me simultaneously. And I'm thinking and experiencing all of my life review is to see all my reasoning and my emotional state for giving them the pain. And the comparison was, I was guilty. I was shameful for what I had done. And my shame and my guilt didn't arise from the divine. It arose from myself. I judged myself in comparison to the beauty of this love and light that was being shown inside me. I was not accused. I accused myself. And when I was suffering this light, this burning, I call it the divine fire of purgative love. I got that from Catherine of Siena. It's a cleansing thing. And as I experienced it and began to hear with the ear of my heart the divine love that was being spoken. I love you. I've always loved you. I forgive you. I've always known you. There's nothing about you that I have not known, and I've loved you as you are, for who you are, for all you've done, Rocky. Everything you have is still beloved. And because the love of the divine is so immense, I can't tell you how grand it is. And as I listened to it, I saw that it wasn't my fault that I had hurt people. Yes, I made choices. Yes,
Right.
they were my decisions. But the entire universe is made in this broken way where black holes, I use this example a lot, black holes consume star systems. Viruses kill people. Everything eats something else. Everything hurts something else. It's the nature of the universe. And because it's the nature of the universe, you puny human, you little tiny human, it wasn't your fault. You didn't make the place. You just live inside it. And as so I see this radical forgivability of everyone. And I understand it applies to me, and I hear inside myself this love, and I turn toward the divine with the love that was given to me and the love that I gave away, this treasure. What you give away, you get to keep. And as I turned, I was then infilled in a state of union. So I turned to the divine and accepted the forgiveness that was always there waiting for me. It wasn't contingent. It just was present, like a present.
Yeah.
And as I turned to it, I inflated like a balloon, bigger and bigger and bigger. I was infilled as the rush of infinity came inside of me. Beauty, love, bliss, paradise, knowledge, understanding, joy, adoration, awe, wonderment. All of this just made me know everything I needed to know about everything and more. And the more this unity filled inside of me, this oneness filled inside of me, the less I became, and the more joy I had, until I reached this point at which I felt like one more drop would eliminate me and obliterate me back into the oneness of being my origin self. And then it just shrunk back down again. And so I shrink back down again. I'm not in control, okay? All of this is being done to me. So I shrink back down again, and I say, "Am I dead?" And the voice says, "Yes, you're dead." And this voice isn't male or female. This voice has no gender. This voice has there's no beard. There's none of those anthropomorphic things that human beings apply here. None at all. God didn't even, there's no name. This is the no name place. And there is no religion. There's just love. And so the voice says to me, "Yes, you're dead." I say, "Well, I can't die now." And the voice says, "It's your time to come home. Why can't you die now?" And I say, "Because my parents will have lost a second child." And in that instant, I'm swept across, like, oh, here's the answer. I'm swept across heaven to the edge of heaven where our universe begins. And my head gets stuck outside it somehow, but I don't have a head, okay? I'm a single entity of consciousness, but I can now perceive outside of heaven, in like this, through this field, I can see the entire universe, all of the universe, every single galaxy, septillion galaxies. And as I look, my vision is focused down on our galaxy, to our star system, to Earth. It's just like this. Okay. And I am looking at Earth like a hologram, only it's not a hologram. It's actual living Earth as it was in that moment. But I can see every single human being on it. On the far side of the Earth that I couldn't possibly see because the Earth's in the way, I could see every 7 billion people, all of them. Everybody's doing their thing. Some are sleeping and some are making war, some are making love. There's babies and crying and ships on the ocean. I could see everything. And everybody, every single human being, all have a gold light inside them, just at the core of their being. And the entire Earth is covered with foam, and nobody can see it. Nobody can see the blessed divine light that is so obvious to me, as the voice says to me, "In the way that I made you, in the way that I love you, I have always loved you, now, then, and always. And as these words were spoken, which had no sound, universe upon ancient time flowed into me of love. The love measurement is not the size of the universe, it's the multiverse and greater. And all of that flowed into me, which made me feel like the prodigal child. I was the beloved one. I was the most special one. I was the most beloved. And the same was true for every human being. So it was this paradox of me being the most particularly special one, but every single of the 70 billion human beings, they're the particular one as well. And so the love is just eternal nature. And it says to me, in the way I love you now, I've always loved you. And because of my love, you now know you are well. You have been well. I knew the wellness of my being was eternal. And that even if I live in suffering, it can't harm me.
Yeah.
It can harm my body, but it can't harm me. And so I knew the eternal nature of the love in which I was made and lived, and I knew that that was the truth for everyone. And as I looked at Earth, should I stop?
No. I was going to jump in.
I have a question too, so go ahead.
This is burning me. I'm going to go back. I don't even know how long. When you said God is nothing, it was just like I got hit on the chest because I understood it so clearly. You know what I'm saying? I've envisioned what you just explained. I've always told people that we sit here and we fight wars over a belief system. We sit here and we literally viciously, bloodthirstingly hate people because of faith, right? I haven't always believed, but I believe, and I've said it to Ron, and I said this, and I've always said, what if you lived in death as you lived in life? You know, I've always said that. I feel that. So I feel just be the best damn person you can, you know, because we don't know for sure. And when you were explaining to me, brother, that this experience, it's weird because I've even had dreams that kind of resonate with kind of some of the things you were talking about.
That's why I looked at you a while ago.
I was in, man.
You know which one I'm talking about?
What part?
Was it you that had the dream about the little tiny dot?
Yes.
Coming fast, super fast at you?
I couldn't even tell you the distance away.
We talked about this
and I was
3 or 4 days ago on the air.
I was in no space at all. In no space at all. And
but this was a dream, right?
Yes, it was a dream.
Yeah.
And there was this little tiny, this little ball. It was like this little tiny, and then something threw it towards me like we're playing catch. But when I caught it, it was like the size of a hot air balloon, but it came to me within a millisecond. But that distance was like you were explaining, because it didn't really exist, so it didn't matter. You know what I mean? And I threw it back and it would shrink. It was just the weirdest thing. So when you were talking, I just sorry I went too long on that, but brother, man, that went through my chest.
Well, there's a lot of things that happen on the other side that lots of people see. You don't need a near-death experience to have a direct experience of God. You don't. People have it all the time, and they come in smaller ways, but they come.
So, Peter, we've got about 10 minutes left. Can you tell us about coming back out of it?
Sure.
And were you conscious enough to request? You said they asked, and you said, I want to go back home because of my parents. And then to follow up on that, and you can cover it. Did your friend experience the same thing? Did he go through this? Did he actually die?
No, he did not die.
All right.
Good.
No, he didn't. And we never talked about it, actually.
Wow.
But to speed up to that point, I saw my parents suffering in that when I was looking at Earth, and I saw their lives with me or without me, and I saw their eternal well-being nature. And the voice said to me, they're going to be fine. They're going to be here in a moment. Just wait for them. Their suffering is going to end no matter what, because time doesn't matter.
Time doesn't matter.
Of an eye.
Yeah.
But I could see that that wasn't going to be their perspective. Their perspective was the time was going to last a long time.
Right.
So I said, I haven't gone all the way yet. Do I have to go? And the voice said, no, you don't have to go, but it's your time. We want you to stay. I said, well, if I come back here, can I come back here? And the voice said, yes, you can come back here. And I meant to this infinite
Yep.
unity, this oneness of being and love. And the voice said, you can come back here. And I said, well, then I choose to live my life. And the voice said, you won't live your life, and shot me out.
You won't live your life.
Nope. I haven't not lived my life. I gave up a huge future I'd been working for since I was a little tiny kid. And I became a different person. And
Really?
everybody, I
Okay.
look the same, but I became an entirely different person. My orientation, I lived non-attached in life. Every day of my life, I lived non-attached. The ground of my being isn't the ground. The ground of my being is the divine self. And I'm bereft, and I've been lost for lots of my life until I dug my way back. I used meditation and prayer to dig my way back, and Kriya Yoga to find a path back for myself. But to answer your question, Tim, I got shrunk down to the size of my body. I was much bigger, and it was painful. I got denser and denser and denser, and it was hurtful. And then I got screwed back into my body again, and my brain came back online, and the first thing I experienced from head to toe was pain.
Oh,
Because and then I started thinking, and I started hearing noise and shouting and rustling, and I didn't understand who or where I was or when. And eventually I opened my eyes, and he pulled me up, and he's screaming and yelling, and as I began to hear him, he's crying, you were dead, you're gonna die, I was gonna die. And he's screaming and yelling, and he calms down, and at some point I pull the rope, and the rope comes free. We descend, and we treat ourselves for hypothermia. And
wow.
and within
Good
hours,
Lord. Now, was there a sense of when you woke back up, was there a sense of the passage of time, or how much time had passed while you were dead?
I don't know.
Okay.
For me, no.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time in heaven.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time passed on earth.
Yeah.
And Tim and I, Tim was a wreck. I mean, I was a wreck. Okay. We were both
Sure.
just emotionally wrecked. And so then we had some very terrible troubles on the way home. We ended up in jail for a while. We had to we got locked into a Canadian jail for a part. We totaled the car.
Wow.
It was horrific, and within 24 hours. Had another it wasn't like a near death, like I died and went over and came back, but I hit a semi, and I saw my life flash before my
Jesus.
eyes. And this is we didn't even out of Canada yet, and so I caused the car wreck, and Tim was pretty angry at me, and then I left within 2 weeks on this national theater tour I was going on for I don't know how many weeks, 3 months, and so we never really saw each other again. We parted with a handshake, but he was an atheist, and we never talked about it. And I looked for him, and I couldn't find him. It was more involved than me just looking for him. It was the publisher and research, and we just couldn't find the guy. But so I went on this theater tour. I'll just say how different I was. I went on this theater tour. We had a 15-passenger van, and we're doing all of the West, 24,000 miles around the West. And I removed myself from the van, and I got in my sleeping bag, and I sat in the back of the pickup truck, which was towing the trailer for 24,000 miles. I stayed away from everybody. I went on my own, and I dove inside. I'd been meditating for 3 or 4 years at that point in my life, and it was the only place I had balance. Everything to me looked fake.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was not like fake, like, superficial, but just like not real.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Humans scare me sometimes. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, after you experience something like that, and you come back, did you remember it immediately, Peter? Or
it more than remember.
Okay.
It was it was alive in me.
Okay.
It's still living in me.
Yeah.
It's not in the past. It's like it just happened yesterday.
So there's absolutely no trauma from this experience because it was able to give. Oh, there was trauma.
Oh, it was. It was a lot of trauma. It's funny, it didn't change any of my DNA. So whatever was encoded into me, including trauma from the night before, that was still there after. And so I wasn't until 2016 when I went back. Someone read my book, and this woman paid my way, flew me out, got me a car. And a buddy of mine and we went back, and I went through this native Dakota ceremony with some elders who helped me call my soul back, gave me this warrior quilt, and cried and screamed and yelled, and I kind of healed a lot of my trauma from it. But
Wow.
the funny thing is, even in the middle of all of this trauma stuff, and I've lived a pretty wild life ever since. It's been a lot of drama. I still know where I'm from. Even when I'm suffering, I know where I'm from. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And so it gives me, I have this, I don't know, I love fun, and I'm courageous. And I've been in my ministry. So I was a UCC, United Church of Christ minister, congregational, New England kind of person. But not milquetoast and honey. It was murder and decapitations and domestic violence. And I was like in the middle of all of this terror all the time.
Yeah.
Not mine, but other people's.
Yeah.
And because I died, I could help them.
Wow.
And so you've got now, I was looking at your website. Let me go to the bottom of it. It popped up. Oh, it's called Not Church Sundays.
Not church.
Yeah. Tell us
Not
about
church.
that. What is that?
Yes. So I became a minister, but I lied the entire time I was in the pulpit because everybody thought I was a believer, and I'm not. I'm not a believer. I'm not really a Christian because there was no religion on the other side. I belong to the divine, so I went into the church in order to earn a living for lots of reasons and be a closet mystic. I could study all of the esoteric books that I wanted to, which I did, and practice my prayer life, and nobody gave me trouble about it. It was just part of my job. So, but I'd always been wanting to talk about the day I went to Catholic high school, and we read a gospel a year in my Catholic high school. And when I picked up the Bible again the first time, Jesus talked like a near-death experiencer. I saw him in an entirely different new way. And so Not Church is about the mysticism that's hidden inside of the scriptures. And it's not just not just the Bible. I look at the Gospel of Thomas and the Mary Magdalene and all these other gospels, and I bring in Lao Tzu and Chuang Tzu and all these things. But it's a way I'm trying to. Back in the 3rd century, the Christianity at the Council of Nicaea deified Jesus and made him separate from us, and that's not what he was trying to do.
Right.
He was always, we are the divine light. And so, and that's all through his writing. No, pardon me, not his writing, in the words that were written about him. And so Not Church is an attempt to unpack that, but most particularly Not Church is an opportunity. Do you know the word Shaktipat or Soma?
I've heard it. I
Divine
don't know.
energy transference. So people who,
Peter,
people
I don't
who-
want. I apologize for cutting you off, sir.
Oh,
but
no, it's cool. It's cool.
We've got about 30 seconds left before the outro music. Tell everybody where they can find you and find your books, real quick.
peterpanagore.love, peterpanagore.love. You'll find all my links there. You'll get to the YouTube channel, and my books are all over the world. It's an international bestseller, and it's been optioned for a film, and we're waiting on that.
Fantastic.
So Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Brother,
Thank you so much,
well,
sir. Stick around. Thank
I'm
you.
asking you right now, Peter, really quick, brother, please come back on, because what we just started talking about the last 5 minutes, that's a whole another hour, and it's all part of it, I believe. I really do.
Yeah, Peter, stay right there. We're going to come back to you as soon as the show is over.
Man, Ron
Holy
Phillips,
cow, dude. Wow.
that was an experience.
That was an experience, guys. Abnormalrealities.com. Look, we're not trying to sway you one way or another. Nothing. We wanted to hear the experience of Peter Panagore, and we did. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Rocky, tell
Love
them
the hell out of you guys. Abnormalrealities.com and, of course, OdysseyRadio.com. Don't forget, make sure you're listening 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Ladies and gentlemen, we love the hell out of you. Until tomorrow night. Love you guys. No, not tomorrow night.
next Tuesday night. See ya.